Hello, today we're talking about graphing systems of linear inequalities. So we already discussed linear inequalities where you draw your line, you have your 4 steps, but now we're graphing systems. So we got to think of what system means, and it's more than one inequality in this case, more than one line. So the first example, we're going to have our system has 2 equations, 2 inequalities. So I have y minus 3x is greater or equal to 1 and y is greater than 4. So still the same steps. We're going to work with each one individually. Solve for y for the first one because I don't have y alone, so I add 3x to both sides and I get y is greater than or equal to 3x plus 1. Now I can follow the rest of my steps for each one individually. So I have y is greater than or equal to 3x plus 1, so I need to use my m and my b. So my y-intercept for this equation, I'll put it in orange, is 1. And then I'm rising 3, running 1. I'm going to bring closer. So from this point, I rise 1, 2, 3, run 1. Plot a point. And I could do it again. 1, 2, 3, run 1. 1, 2, 3, run 1. And I could even go in the opposite direction. You definitely want to extend the whole coordinate plane. 1, 2, 3, but now I go the opposite. So if I go down, I gotta go left. All right, and now I've covered the whole coordinate plane. Now I need to decide whether it's dashed or solid. Because it's equal to it, this one is solid. Trying to draw a straight line. Use a ruler so you have an exact answer. And then, so my second one, now shading, I am going to shade greater than it, right? Greater than it, so that's above. So where is above? This is all, if we're looking at the hill, where's above the hill? That's all of this stuff here, all of it. But I also have a second line that I need to do, so I'm going to hold off on shading. So I have y is greater than 4. Use my m and my b. Well, my slope is 0 and my y-intercept is 4. So I plot at 4. And then I have no slope, so it's a horizontal line. It's dashed because there's no equal sign. So I'm dashing it away. Okay, and now I need to shade what's greater than that line. And now the system would be what is greater than both lines. So the orange part, if I were to shade, would be all of this. The blue part, it would be all of this. So where do they both shade? Well, it's in that center part where they both would be. If the orange would be all of this and the blue would be all of this, then they both would be in this section here. And that's your solution. So underneath, I did this problem already. The pink, which is hard to see, the pink is the y is greater than or equal to 3x plus 1 line, and the green is the y is greater than 4 line. And you see I shaded all of this pink and all of this green, and the area where they're both at is there. Honestly, this is how I'd prefer your answer to be. It's so much cleaner and neater. Let me put this back down. It's so much cleaner and neater than using the whole thing, but just so you understand where this came from. All right, the next thing that you're going to need to do in this category is number 2, write a system for the shaded region. So you have this coordinate plane here. You have a vertical line, solid vertical line at 2. I see I have my integer here. It says it's -1, meaning all of these goes by 1. And then on my y-axis, there's a 1 here, and that seems to be where my y-intercept is. And then I also have this point here at 2, 2, and this x-intercept at -2. And my blue line is dashed. And then my shading seems to be in this section here. So let's start with the orange line. So how do I write the equation for this orange line? Okay, so if you're worrying about just the line, it's a vertical line. It's an x equals line. What number? Well, it crosses at 2. So it's an x equals 2 line. But the shading part tells us it's not just equal to the line, it's something else. Less than the line, more than the line. So because it's more than the line, these are all the values of x that are more than the line, it has to be greater than the line. Is it also equal to it? Well, it's solid. Solid tells us yes, it's also equal to it. So the equation for this line is x is greater or equal to 2 because it's greater than it. Okay, the blue contingency, that line makes it go the shading below, but let's first worry about the line. Well, what's my y-intercept? It's right here at 1. So I know for y equals mx plus b, my b is 1, and it's positive. And now I have to figure out my slope. Well, from here, I'm rising 1, running 2. So my slope is 1/2. So this would be the equation, y equals 1/2 x plus 1, of the line, but we don't have a line, we have an inequality. So it's dashed, so that tells us that the inequality is not equal. And we got to think, is it above the line shaded or below the line? Well, it's below it, so it's less than. And that's my system. The two equations together is the answer. So not just this answer, but also x is greater or equal to 2. That's my answer right there. Cool.